We are going to have to act if we want to live in a different world.
Welcome to LOVEseat episode 6, I think. I'm Victor Von Drunk, and sitting next to me at the only couch in Sarajevo is Garam.
I am somewhat less drunk, but we'll see how drunk I am by the end of this.
Yeah, I mean, you drink pretty heavily, but you don't drink Everclear.
No, I'm a touch classier than that.
Hey, man. It was $12 a bottle.
Yes, it's fucking ridiculous. Are you sure it's Everclear and not some like knockoff Russian thing?
No, it's definitely Everclear.
This is actually Putin's real plan to conquer the U.S., just to booze everyone up. Cheap Everclear.
I mean, you'd think that might work, but it's still only legal in my state, so...
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen it up here, but no, I've never actually had Everclear.
Well, it's
So
I bought it originally as a cleaning supply.
Yowza. So
Like,
speaking of cleaning some stuff up, this we have quite the backlog. It's kind of falling all over the floor. We got to get to this thing. It's really piling up and getting around the house.
Yeah, you start with DACA. I'll go get the hose and the mop.
I'm getting the toilet again, aren't I? Anyways, so DACA. I'm not entirely sure how DACA was ever considered legal in the United States. So there's two parts of DACA I'm familiar with. One is the, I think, actual legal part in which President Trump issued an executive order saying to the Justice Department not to direct any resources towards the prosecution of undocumented minors in the United States, or people who are adults now, who entered the country, if memory serves, before the age of 16 and had a clean criminal record. Fair enough. The part I don't understand, and I'm not quite sure it's legal in U.S. law, was he directed agencies to issue work permits to these individuals. And even though they didn't actually meet the legal qualifications for those work permits to be issued. So DACA has always been a little contentious on both the political front. The Republicans obviously don't want a bunch of illegal Mexican immigrants coming into the country because those individuals, for a couple of reasons. One is those individuals tend to vote Democrat. Another one is the Republicans strongly believe in, of course, border security. And you can't just have border security and a bunch of illegal immigrants crossing over. And for the Democrats, it was, I almost wonder if it was a framing technique. They set the Republicans up with a trap. They can offer amnesty and look merciful, and then they can turn around and accuse the Republicans of being heartless bastards. But anyways, where we're at today is Trump is doing something very unusual, and he might be setting the Democrats up for a trap in and of themselves.
I mean, he's been doing
so
that
he's yes, and there was one story I caught that was absolutely fucking hilarious on this one. It might actually be working. So what he's done is he's tossed the issue of DACA over to Congress. Basically told Congress, you go deal with this. Here's what I want. I want amnesty for people who are can prove that they entered the United States illegally before the age of 16, or 16 or younger, have got a high school education, have maintained a clean criminal record, got a job, and I'm not quite sure what this one is, but it's can demonstrate upstanding moral character. And then that might just be provide some references, make sure the person's not likely to commit crimes in the future. So he's told Congress that he would like them to present him with the bill that he could sign, which offers those individuals amnesty, which interesting. It creates an interesting situation.
I mean,
on the one hand,
it's just more shit that's been going on forever. Like, the executive order has existed for a long time, but it was always really subtly used, or rather, it was used in times when like mass media wasn't so easy to report on this kind of stuff. But generally, like since the 70s, and then especially after the Patriot Act, the powers of the executive branch got ramped up insanely, and Obama executive ordered fucking everything. And DACA was really bad because he was executive ordering it while also doing the old presidential trick of stacking the deck, where like all the law enforcement agencies and intelligence agencies that he had appointee power over, he just appointed them with people that were his cronies or had the same ideology or what have you. Like, around the same time DACA was enacted, the same kind of people that enabled it were also like, I mean, I'll give you an example of the kind of people that enabled all of Obama's shit was like, you know, when I talk about stacking the deck with appointees, he had appointed Eric Holden. It's like that's a great example, because under him was Fast and the Furious. And like, I don't know if you know about that shit. I'm pretty sure you do.
Oh, yeah, that one was the media does not want to talk about that scandal, but yeah, the Republicans keep on beating the war drum on that one. It's like, don't forget this one. But anyways, Holden.
Yeah. Oh, not Holden. We're not talking about Holden. He's kind of dead now. DACA.
Yes.
I mean, he's not dead, but people kind of wish he was dead. We're totally under NSA watch.
Oh, we'll get to YouTube and all the bullshit that's been going on there.
Yeah, but before we do, I should mention this episode of LOVEseat is brought to you by BitChute. BitChute. We're shilling it because they're great, and they allowed us to host all of our videos without goddamn limits. VidMe, you cucks. And they also they also reposted our stuff on Gab because they're cool. We are not shilling for them because they paid us. We're shilling for them because we like them. Though you may disagree with this. We're shilling for them because they're actually offering a good service, which is more than can be said for Google these days. Yeah, and YouTube. And I mean, YouTube. The argument could be made that we are probably shilling for money and we're just lying. But remember, we have 2 subscribers. So,
speaking of getting back into the shit, so yeah, Obama stacked the deck and then pushed through a bunch of executive orders that were likely illegal, which is just it's so fucking scummy.
They're
just like
most
stack the deck with
executive
people.
Orders by their nature are illegal, but you know, like,
well, executive orders by their nature demonstrate something very clearly: either Congress is not working or Congress does not want you to fucking do that.
This is true.
And chances are it's more to do with the latter than the former. Chances are Congress doesn't fucking want you to do that. But, you know, let's not let the, will of the American voters get in the way of anything.
Well, like, the original justification for executive orders was like time of emergency kind of shit. Like,
if you listen to the media, we're in a time of emergency right now.
Yeah, but like that said, like the time of emergency those justifications were clearly bullshit because like they always are. But the idea of an executive order was essentially like it was the legislative. It was like the legislative version of like martial law for people, where it's like it's the executive branch essentially like issuing martial law to the legislative branch for like the duration of an emergency, like a hurricane or whatever.
My understanding was my first introduction to the executive orders was presented as they were supposed to be temporary. And executive orders were only supposed to last until Congress is convened again. It was something to be dealt with. An issue's come up. Congress is out of session and can't deal with it right now. Okay, we'll come up with a temporary solution. And then when Congress comes back in and is dealing with shit again, they can deal with this.
Yep.
Which is ridiculous on DACA because this has been an issue for decades. This is not an immediate crisis. The U.S. already has immigration policy. And he basically he signed an executive order which radically altered U.S. immigration policy in ways that are quite illegal. The issuing of work visas to people who did not qualify for work visas under the law. He essentially ordered he basically ordered his department to do something that was illegal.
Yep.
The rule said no, this person shouldn't be getting a work permit.
He did that like several thousand times on public record, though. Like, it was pretty bad. I mean, this has kind of already been talked to death. Honestly, we should probably talk about all the other dumb shit that we have missed in the last few weeks.
So the DACA, something actually recently when I put it on the list did come up. So one of the things the classic line about, oh, Trump's playing four-dimensional chess. I'm not sure if he's playing four-dimensional chess or the other side is just this fucking retarded.
I'm pretty sure the other side is just this fucking incompetent. Like, I'm not saying all of his plans are like incredibly obvious to one such enlightened person as myself, blah blah blah. But I mean, like, when like I don't know, I kind of fall in line with Styx Hexenhammer on a lot of this stuff when he's like, he doesn't think it's 4D chess, but like there's obviously a lot of like maneuvering that he's doing, and the people that pretend
playing it like a business.
Yeah, and the people that pretend that he is not, advocate that the man does not have like really motile strategies for how he's dealing with a lot of this stuff. It's like, so either you assume it's like, so like either he never had a plan in the first place, and the man is just simply like, the luckiest guy ever / like the dude who is managed to like play like a guy who can like play a fucking game of Risk. He's essentially playing like Risk, winning a land war in Asia without a plan. Like he's just playing Risk by the seat of his pants, and just everything keeps coming up boxcars. And like there's people like Coach Red Pill that just like, he's gonna resign any minute now, any second now he's gonna resign. He's tired of everyone hating him. But it's like, look, the dude wouldn't.
Everyone hating him. Have you seen those fucking rallies?
It's like, well, it's not just that. It's like even if those rallies are like, he even overstates his rallies, but like he does that on purpose. Like the heart of the matter is that the people that doubt him, like, and I don't mean like a healthy doubt. I mean like the people that doubt him that just go, this man's a fucking idiot. He has never done anything. Like, Trump is retarded. This is all just bullshit. We're just caught, like, the fucking, like, radical, like, they're essentially just radical centrists that want to just sit there and be like, Hillary Clinton was a terrible choice, but Trump, like, see, I'm so enlightened, I don't believe in these alt-right memes or whatever. It's like, congratulations. You have, you don't even grasp the beginnings of social warfare, and you want to pretend that the guy who has played Twitter and the rest of the media like a goddamn fiddle is somehow, like, doesn't have two brain cells to rub together. Like, I don't like Trump that much either, but I'm not saying that to fucking endear myself to you. I'm saying that because I want it to be clear. There's no way that he is, like, there's no way that he's just gotten this lucky, or he's just, just, like, this is all accidental, when you can clearly see the trends. The man is... Yeah, you can see the trends in all of his tweets. The man's
all about branding.
Yeah, you can see the trends in all of his tweets. Even if he has no idea what he's doing everywhere else outside the realm of, like, social engineering, he has marketing, like corporate marketing strategies are on the bleeding edge of social warfare, essentially. He has, like, applied memetics, branding, like all of the buzzwords that essentially like equate to manipulating large social groups via confirmation bias. He has all of those tricks down goddamn pat. And
it seems like right now he knows how to use other people's confirmation bias against them. And
yeah. And it's like, if you don't
he
believe
zeroed
this,
in on with DACA on two. First one is something the Democrats have been saying for years. Anyone who opposes DACA, anything like DACA, is only doing it because they're a fucking racist. They've created another narrative.
yeah, they just
He's Hitler.
like
And
that's
it's
like,
amazing to watch what happened recently. You're gonna love this. So now that he's put DACA on the ropes and basically said to Congress, "Hey, you guys, this is your responsibility to pass DACA." There's no way the Republicans are going to pass DACA on their own. They need to be pressured by the Democrats. So the Democrats now have to work with the guy that they have been calling literally fucking Hitler on everything, on a policy that they've been saying that if you oppose it, you're a racist. So what happened recently was Nancy Pelosi was trying to give a talk or a speech somewhere, and her speech got crashed by a protest group that's apparently composed entirely of illegal immigrants to the United States.
it's like,
And
well,
they would not
done-
let
you done shot yourself in both feet. What's going to happen?
Yeah.
You're going to show up at a rally, and then the police literally arrest all of you, and you have absolutely nothing you can do about it legally. Like, come on.
Well, it's fucking. So they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. On the one side, if they want DACA, they have to work with Hitler, which means they have to normalize Hitler. And all their base is going to go, why are you fucking working with Hitler? We're the resistance. We want to resist. This culture of just naming and shaming and endless extremism is going to get turned on them. And they basically got a choice, because that same batshit crazy group, if they don't support DACA, is going to brand them as a bunch of fucking racists. It puts the Democrats politically in that culture warrior standpoint in an incredibly awkward position.
Yeah, and that was the whole point of it, because like the thing is that he's now more than ever kind of driven. Like, everyone says, "Oh no, like what happened to drain the swamp? Why are you like filling your cabinet with all these cronies?" And it's like, well, in case you haven't noticed, like half of the only people in his cabinet that haven't gotten like fucking booted in the asshole are people that are like were there specifically because they were loyal to him or loyal to the country above all else, and are quietly doing their own job in the background. Like, everyone wants to say what they will about Rex Tillerson, but Rex Tillerson has been like just shutting down shit left and right, like all of these fucking subcommittees and everything that are just sucking funds away to do bullshit. And then Mattis is is up there, and I should just finish that sentence with Mattis is up there, and
they're not
people
doing
stop questioning
bullshit,
it.
but I'm gonna have to say no. They're not doing bullshit. I think the point of a lot of the subcommittees is they're basically a wedge issue parking lot.
Yeah, that's a good term for it.
You create a wedge. Yeah, you create a wedge issue, and you want to weaponize it only at a particular time.
Yeah, it's like
So
the only
you
subcommittees that
you
should
need to
exist.
create a system where these people are being pacified when they're not useful. But the second they're useful, just like that, you close down the subcommittee, or you basically go to them and say, no, you aren't going to get what you want. We're closing down the subcommittee, or the subcommittee decided against you. And all of a sudden, that wedge issue that you wanted to be quiet when it would have been detrimental to you for it to be loud is loud when you want it to be loud. Those subcommittees are they're way too political.
Well, like a lot of them are also just giant drains on funds that like are about non-issues that don't get solved. Like they're there to play like, you know, they're playing like tug of war over a money pit. And to use a much shittier metaphor than yours for a lot of them, I mean, I still believe you're right with the wedge issue parking lot, but there's like numerous subcommittees. The only ones that really should exist are like the oversight the oversight committees and subcommittees on like national intelligence and shit that are fucking totally toothless at this point. Because like, we remember when they had the video where Trey Gowdy fucking was asking like, hey, he was questioning Comey, and Comey flat out told him, like, I can't answer your question. Like, are you fucking kidding me? And like,
well, remember when there was the FBI was basically investigating the CIA over This was even before Comey. This was over still the NSA leak type stuff. And there was a lot of shit that they had been publicly saying that and other U.S. government departments were told that the NSA and CIA and all your other three-letter alphabet soup departments were up to in terms of domestic surveillance. And the FBI started looking into it. And basically wondering what the fuck's going on here.
Yeah, and I mean...
And it went to assembly and closed doors. They all walked out and basically said, no, we can't do a fucking thing about any of this. Even though the FBI has grounds to be investigating, we can't. We're done. And it faded from the news within like a day. Within a 24-hour news cycle, it was just buried. And I'm sitting there going, the FBI was just accusing the CIA of various very severe federal crimes, and you buried these accusations within 24 hours.
Yeah.
And it was all because the appropriate oversight committee apparently didn't even have jurisdiction.
Yeah, even though it just like, yeah, they just pull fucking nothing but rules lawyering.
Yeah, that's exactly what the CIA apparently did. They just walked into the meeting and said, you don't have any fucking jurisdiction over this, and go fuck yourselves.
Diplomatic immunity. Yeah.
You requested these documents. We're not legally you're not legally entitled to read them. Go suck it.
Yep. It's
But it's fun to watch this all blow up in the Democrats' face. They've created all these issues, and now they're on
the
the
whole thing's being
receiving
turned on them. And like I was trying to say before, it's like, say what you will about draining the swamp and the cabinet and everything else. Like, what Trump has functionally done so far in his administration, pivoting all of this, is that he's pulling, like, as he's pivoting to fight all these different threats coming at every angle. He's essentially drawing back the curtains for people en masse through social media and calling. And I mean, now that he's the president, his Twitter reaches so many fucking people. Like people already had followed. Like, that's the thing.
We don't even need a press corps anymore.
Yeah, he doesn't need a press corps. He just needs a fucking BlackBerry. And like his God,
technology is wonderful. Think about that. You have a press corps of like 40 people and probably another between writers and editors, 100 people beyond that. There's probably like the press corps. Once you probably add all the numbers up, we're probably talking like a couple hundred people. Just got replaced by something that fits in the palm of your hand.
Yeah, and
God bless technology.
I mean, if the context were changed for factory jobs, people would be crying. But whatever, context is everything. But
no one really likes journalists anyways.
I wanted to be a journalist for a long time, but
why would you do that to yourself?
Because I'm a masochist who thinks he has a sense of honor. That's the real reason. I might as well just say that. Anyway, essentially with him, he as he's pivoting his administration to deal with all these different threats, to paraphrase some of the stuff that Styx has been saying, he's kind of pulled back this curtain for everybody through Twitter, through social media, through all this other stuff, because every time he makes that's the thing, another thing that the media does is he will make stupid tweets on purpose, or tweets that seem stupid, or at least he seems he's making them on purpose, and I say that, it's I'm not going haha, he was just pretending to be retarded. It's more like this is the only guy that's turned pretending to be retarded into an active strategy, because every time they report on something stupid that they think he said on Twitter, he gets more followers that then see his other tweets that say real shit. When he he calls out actual senators directly by name and is no, this motherfucker right here is responsible for this. And
they're doing him a favor. He gets to basically he does a tweet storm about an issue. That issue the next day is front page news, coast to coast.
Yeah, and it's
they essentially, in their reactive nature, have handed him the biggest ability in the entire country to set the topic list for what gets discussed with a couple of tweets.
And while he does that, he's pulling back this curtain and he's showing, like, look, the Republican establishment failed the conservative, like, anybody who was conservative leaning in this country, or anybody who was right leaning in this country, I should say, like, they've been failed for, like, the last, like, 60 years. Like, I've said this before with you and Sway, it's like, Republican Party's functionally been dead since Barry Goldwater lost election. But,
and it's just so symbolic about who replaced Barry Goldwater in his riding.
Yep.
You just take a guess.
Just tell them. Just tell them, Garrett.
McCain.
Mm-hmm.
The ultimate neocon.
It's like it's just the Republican Party has been dead since Barry Gold. Like, the real Republican Party has been dead. Conservatism has been dead since Barry Goldwater lost election, and the revenant of it has been forcing the population of the country to basically pay for its funeral costs for, like, the last, like, 60 years. Like, it's nothing but guys that are not conservative for the sake of, like, actual conservative values, like, in principle, taking changes slowly and gradually and, like, holding on to traditions that might have a use in the future and everything else. It's not that they are conservative in any sense of the word, only for, holding on to the money. And they are conservative because as long as they can keep any political machine that would be progressively moving in any fucking direction from moving at all, they get to collect taxes on it, essentially. They're just doing nothing but collecting tax money on all the shit that they're slowing down. And a lot of conservatives have had enough of that shit, but a lot of conservatives also had no idea, like, a lot of conservatives also didn't realize, like, how much of the problem is not, cultural Marxism or socialists or Democrats or leftists or whatever, like, buzzwords you want to use for, like, the huge menagerie of boogeymen they have to deal with. Like, it's like, the people
real and perceived.
Yeah, it's the people that they have been supporting, for better or worse, that, are supposed to be the champions of their ideals, and instead they're just sitting there, collecting a paycheck to lie about it. I mean, other people have already talked about John McCain to death, I'm sure. We're not saying anything really new here, but
the neocons aren't paleocons, and
mesocons.
One of my 2 years ago, when I kind of had my political awakening, I actually started to read up on who the Republicans really are, and just like, no, it's a very fractured party. You got the neocons, your paleocons, your evangelicons, and your libertarians.
Yeah, and it's like
there's 4 factions in one party. Can you imagine the political chaos?
And like 2 of the, like, evangelicons are, like, either con men or lunatics. Fucking
they're often basically one-issue voters. They're just socially conservative, and they don't give a shit about anything else.
Yeah.
And then you get your more libertarian constitutional people. Ben Shapiro would be one of my favorites. He's kind of constitutional libertarian / I guess you would basically call him a mesocon or a paleocon. But what really struck me is he was the first Republican conservative that I ever listened to that could actually explain why they believe what they believe.
Yeah, and
they were articulate, and I'm like, why the hell isn't this guy on TV? And then I realized, I cut the cable years ago.
Well, I mean, it's not like you really see him that much anyway. I mean,
I do listen to his podcast.
The paleocons, like, the vast majority of them are just kind of stuck. Like, most of them are already people that, like, have compromised their values, and, like, they already sold their soul just to maintain their position of power, and are kind of, like, feebly striking back, but, like, can't really do much. They basically sold their. They kind of follow the classical principle of, like, there's always a traitor, but like, aside from that, and it's like, you have, like, the last one you have is libertarians. It's like the libertarians make up a huge number of, like, conservatives in the country, but they have no real representation in the legislature. The only representation in the legislature they ever had was, like, Ron Paul at the closest, and
Well, Rand Paul's, in my opinion, one of the few sane people in Congress right now.
Not Rand Paul. Rand Paul's a fucking idiot. But Ron Paul, his father. But like Ron Paul, like he was also kind of nuts. Like he was.
He should have probably made a better naming convention.
Well, I mean, his son. All right, his son is a fuck. Like here's the problem with his son. His son was a fucking sellout. Like his son is a sellout neocon that uses his father's legacy to try and like pretend that he's actually a libertarian. But if you actually look at like the stuff he's voted for and the stuff and like his reasons for such, it's like he did stuff like he's voted against wars and everything, but like majority of the time he would vote against wars after like the rest of the party was already voting for it. So he's just like, oh, I'll just do this to like keep up my base. I already know we're gonna do it. And then his fucking
he had the most come on, he had the most classically Republican. Okay. Look at the Obamacare repeal. Out of every suggestion that was made, he had the one that was closest to what the Republicans were saying for years. I mean, you look at McConnell's proposal, and it was basically Obamacare 2.0. There was almost no fucking difference. Oh yeah, we scrapped a few lines here and there. Oh, eat shit, McConnell. You might as well be a Democrat.
Well, I mean,
hell, you basically are a fucking Democrat.
I mean, Mitch McConnell is also like, you know, fucking. He's like half of his DNA belongs to the chickens, or something.
It's the problem with the neolibs and the neoconservatives. Ideologically, they agree on everything, but they're just playing to two different bases.
Yeah, and then the loudest voices among them get the most traction. But the problem is that like with the neoliberals, like most of the neoliberals are dumb enough to actually give real political power to their loud voices. Like as bad as like the evangelical like resurgence that happened during like the 80s and 90s like ever was, the social justice is like you know insurgency we've been seeing is way worse. Like maybe it's because of mass communication,
for years,
maybe it's because
able
of
to
colleges, but like maybe it's because of the internet and everything else. But like you know we did. What was some of the worst shit that happened with like the evangelocons being like center stage all the time? What we got the rise of the atheist YouTube community in the late 2000s. Throughout the 80s and 90s, we had like D&D being considered devil worship.
We had a few dozen mega churches
be made with like taxpayer money or something like.
We had to put explicit language tags on the CDs. When you walked into a movie theater, movies were now rated like PG-13.
I don't know. I'd kind of argue about that.
Seriously, when you were a kid going to a movie theater, did they ever card you?
No, not really. But I mean,
no.
That's
everything that the evangelicals put into place was so easy to ignore.
Well, like while we're here, I'm going to make the side point. Look, I know that amongst our contemporaries, I'm considered a faggot because I actually care about art and entertainment and think that it has like a major impact.
Really, I thought it would have been you were called a faggot like other men.
I thought I was. Maybe it has to do with the fact I named myself after two different supervillains, but. The thing is that when we had Braving Ruin on, this almost got brought up a few times. But I think that art and entertainment has a larger impact than just bread and circuses, especially in the modern day. I would argue a lot, and that's why I was still like really in support of Gamergate, even if people like Braving Ruin thought that it was just a bunch of bullshit about nerds being angry about video games. Like I would disagree that there was like some deeper shit going on there, but like that, like in the regard of that, I would say like PG, like of all the other stuff, like that was minor overall, but PG-13 is probably like the worst thing to happen to cinema since Ed Wood.
Deep hurting. Deep hurting. Deep hurting. Deep.
Yeah. So, moving on. We have rambled. Man, I
try to
I really
change it.
should not have done this drunk. But while we're talking about entertainment and everything, and then we can get back into politics. I need to say this. STD.
My God. No, fuck no. That show does not deserve the moniker Star Trek. That is not fucking Star
fucked
Trek.
Up so bad.
No, fuck you. I'm sorry. Pacifist Sarek is going to encourage the protagonist to start shooting the allegorical representation of Trump supporters. Man. I'm sorry, have you even fucking watched the original series? Dude, Sarek doesn't even like his own biological son.
All right.
By the way, the fact I gotta back up. The very fact that the very fact that they have a protagonist, I'm sorry, it's an ensemble show. The fact that they just decided to retcon her as that little fucking Mary Sue, who happened to be the completely unmentioned, like, adoptive sister of Spock, like. Dude, have you even watched the original? Why did you have to make it Spock's family?
All right, look, fuck all that. I'm gonna say, this has to be said. Last time Star Trek did this shit, like last time the people behind one of the newer Star Treks pulled this shit, we got Deep Space Nine, and when it backfired incredibly, because Deep Space Nine had space fascists and space fucking anarcho-capitalists, but had two representatives. There's a representative of each species, like the fucking Cardassians and then the Ferengi. Oh no, they're the bad guys. They're such assholes, but we're gonna try to write their characters anyway. They were the best characters in the show.
Yeah, no kidding.
Last time Star Trek pulled this same...
And who played Garrick?
The last time Star Trek pulled this shit, at least when it backfired, the writers were good enough that, it was entertaining as fuck. This is just sad. This is just a joke.
Well, okay, in the previous Star Treks, whenever they tried to present something like this, it was clear they weren't trying to be condescending and insulting to people in real life. It was just a morality play. This is just, it's going after people. It's done, you look at these people's Twitter and what they've been saying on social media. It's like, if Gene Roddenberry was alive today, he'd be taking a knee during the national anthem. Okay, whoa. You don't think through the lens of morals and ethics. You view the world through the lens of politics. If you want to write Star Trek, you need to talk about morals and ethics, not about
higher
politics.
Ideals and post-scarcity, and the exploratory spirit of man, not fucking bullshit going on with alien races that you retconned into uselessness.
Yeah, the Klingons aren't Klingons. The opening scenes are a starship piloted by Whitey McWhiteface called the Europa getting blown up.
They're just mad. People are still mad about Captain Archer. And then
Star Trek Enterprise redeemed itself with the Mirror episode. Those were great. Those Mirror Universe episodes, some of the best, funnest Star Trek I've ever watched. They were great.
Though, this is all, but we should move on before our one subscriber is you guys are fucking doing that thing where you're nerding out too hard again. We gotta hold it together, because when we talk about demonetization, I'm gonna go on a rant. But can we talk about something else? SJWs are completely fucking everything up, and it's just amazing to watch them make enemies. They fucked up Berkeley again.
I can't.
They fucked up Berkeley again.
$600,000 in security for a half-hour speech by Ben Shapiro, in which there was nothing offensive. I can understand why some people might disagree with certain opinions he offered, but he was able to, during the question period, which was, again, I think about 45 minutes, able to, several people, The only thing I really heard him say that was exceptionally controversial was his stance on abortion.
Look, man,
And he did get questioned about it, and he did provide
You're
a
missing-
reasonable walkthrough.
That's
of why.
that's nice, but that's not the true silver lining to this. The true silver lining to this is, as we talked about before with Trump, that the SJWs are so fucking hysterically retarded, and the left in general are so hysterically retarded that they have managed to shoot themselves in both feet and actually like encircle and screw their own plans over. Because look, when we take away when we put this in context, or not put this in context, we take away some of the context and then we take away the names. You have to realize that leftists made a leftist. These leftists have now made
a leftist university hate their guts.
Well, not just that.
Congratulations.
the left, for some reason, has now made a university pay several $1,000s to protect a Jew from protests. I think the alt-right has won.
Oh my god, yes.
I think they've gotten their point across.
And then that happened again. The university had to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars protecting a gay man from Antifa.
Yes. Once again, shot themselves in both feet.
Wow, that Free Speech Week in Berkeley turned out to be like a Free Speech 5 minutes. Oh, what a bummer! But it was great just to watch the police actually show up. And apparently, defeating Antifa was simple. You just had to put up a sign saying, "Take off your mask." That's all we had to do. Apparently, we've completely been overthinking this Antifa thing. All we needed to do was put up a sign saying "No masks," and they would have gone away, and we wouldn't have to deal with this crap
We should have
for like
known.
2 years.
We should have known to stop a protest. We should have known that the best way to stop a protest put together by a ravening pack of pussies was to demand that they grow a pair of balls.
Yep. So there was some great stuff that came out of that one. Did you see the video of Yvette Falaca getting arrested?
No, I did not. That sounds wonderful.
Yes. So Yvette Falaca, a leader of the group By Any Means Necessary, has finally been arrested. I mean, I would have arrested her a long time because she's made her comments about she's made on national television's been
firstly, I want to point out the irony
punching people.
I want to point out the irony of a leftist group considering themselves anti-fascists having a name like By Any Means Necessary.
I know, it's pretty fucking hilarious. So I would have arrested her months ago.
Do they have a sister organization that's also an anti-fascist organization that is called Ends Justify the Means?
Oh, that probably. I would have arrested her, or at least pursued some sort of criminal when she basically said, "Oh yeah, anyone who's a Trump supporter, you should punch them." I'm sorry, that's a direct call to violence. That's unacceptable. That's the one thing I don't think should be allowed in terms of free speech, is if you make a direct call to violence.
I'm sorry. Yelling fire in a movie theater.
Yes, or yeah, well, yeah, I suppose. But that was great. And then she also got, on top of that, resisting arrest, which is great. How the fuck? Have you seen your pictures? She's like 90 pounds wet. How is she going to resist arrest?
I mean, either she really was resisting arrest because she's that entitled, or the cops are just totally done with her shit.
They're probably done with their shit, which is just great. Apparently Sargon was there. Sargon of Akkad.
For some fucking reason.
Shits and gigs, it sounds like. Gotta love that Patreon money. By the way, we should get a Patreon.
No.
Okay. Anyways,
Request denied.
According to him, he was actually spending a lot of time around Yvette Falaca and not harassing her.
And not harassing. Is this like the time that he was spending a lot of time tweeting his spending a lot of time tweeting one of his parliamentary representatives and telling her that he wouldn't rape her?
I believe he only tweeted her once.
Oh.
And the harassment claim was that his followers also started treating her that they would not rape her ever. Last time I checked,
once again, another great irony. It's like, for considering how much bullshit the left has gotten away with in the legal world, and like as far as like organizationally and gubernatorially through like incredibly liberal use of rules lawyering, it really raises their hackles when anyone uses semantics on them.
It was just Berkeley's been having some fun. Tim Pool did a bunch of interviews with students at Berkeley, and it sounds like they're just sick and tired of Antifa and everything. So they're just on so many levels. Antifa is just shooting itself in the foot. They're making themselves the enemies of the left.
Yeah.
I don't think
Speaking of
anyone,
making themselves enemies of the left.
I don't think anyone can really shoot themselves in the foot as much as YouTube's been doing these days. It's like they hate money.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they either actually do hate money because they're fucking communists, or they are basically just so inundated with their own ideology that they don't realize that like they are getting themselves into a really precariously weak position. I mean, they're still ridiculously strong. I mean, Google still owns infrastructure. It's still definitely what would be considered a cyberpunk megacorporation, which is the gold standard by which I measure everything being fucked with. Like, you know, on a scale of 1 to shit's fucked. But that said, they really are screwing themselves, especially when, you know, competitors like BitChute are popping up. And BitChute's fucking great, by the way. I should say this again.
Well, they're trying to use whatever social media and news allies they have to just accuse everyone of being alt-right. They can't offer a particularly good service because their politics are interfering with their actual business, so they'll just try and shut everyone else down. But so the list of people who are getting demonetized just continues to grow, including one you're just gonna love this one. So Arch Warhammer has been demonetized.
Okay, rant incoming.
So this is great. Apparently,
you can hear it. You can hear it in the background, can't you? It's like air snap when a tornado is about to come.
It's just a slow rumbling in the distance, like a freight train. So he put up a video basically saying he's been demonetized, and according to him, he put up a video which was just his background, which is just, you know, a painted background, and there's his character, which is just an inquisitor type. It's just a dude in robes. It's just standing there. Apparently, no audio, and even
I have to note this. I hate like he looks like an inquisitor. Like the little avatar that fan art made of him looks like an inquisitor, but like they have the whole like inquisitor has like the rosette chained around his neck, but instead of the rosette, inquisitorial rosette, it's just his Arch Warhammer symbol. So like that alone by itself makes his character look less like an inquisitor and more like a fucking like he looks like that fucking like white version of Rick Ross that got popular for a while, like the white guy who was basically Rick Ross and just so happens to also be a 40K fan. Like it looks like bling. Like 40K is bad about bling, but Jesus Christ. Like
so back to that, it was just his background and no audio, and it was flagged for demonetization. So that just is more than a touch suspicious, but I'm going to throw you through a loop here. Everyone's been thinking that this thing's political. And
well, I don't think you're not really going to throw me through a loop. I mean, I don't know if he was the first guy to say it, but of all people, the person who had like, you know, tested that out first was Razorfist, where he was like, yes. Yeah, like I'm getting, he had the same shit happen to him. He posted a video of him posting the video and was like,
I have seen the video.
Look at this shit. And it's like, yeah, fuck Razorfist, fuck Arch Warhammer. Ross doesn't deserve it, but they are right. It's unfair.
Yes, you heard me mention that Ross Scott of Accursed Farms, the guys who does Freeman's Mind.
Because you know what? I bet Machinima had something to do with that. They're just really fucking angry that their dastardly fucking schemes are not working for them anymore.
People still go to machinima.com.
No,
why?
it's just Machinima still does that bullshit where they like, you know, they functionally subcontract YouTubers for like 1/20th of the ad revenue money they would make otherwise, and say that like, you know, we're paying you an exposure. Like they there's a bunch of dumb shit they do, but they are still like, you know, like that's remember what they did to Best Friends, like Best Friends Play, where like they would just do supercuts of Best Friends plays that were like actually worse than the full cuts, and then they collected like all the
Best
fucking
Friends
views.
plays.
Yeah, like the old Best Friends Play when like they did like shit like Metal Wolf Chaos and whatnot, but like that Machinima had that scheme going forever, and it's like I don't know if Machinima's been demonetized. I'm sure I would have heard something about it if they did, but then again, I'm also like, you know, I work 6 days a week and spend 5 days a week drunk, so whatever. But
so
like
with the Ross Scott and Accursed Farms, that the theory was floated around, and it was. Remember when this all started, and they were attacking PewDiePie, and they were obsessed with their subscription numbers?
what was great about that recently, I don't know if you watched it, but Louis Levi made a video about how he's fucking tired of PewDiePie being a fucking pussy, and that was pretty good because he had a point about like PewDiePie keeps making apology videos.
Oh, I got unsubscribed to fucking seriously, unsubscribing people.
Yeah, they're still doing that shit too, and like
just.
I don't agree with him at all, but I actually really like Louis Levi's content. But
he's
well,
a nice guy.
not at all. He's definitely not a nice guy. He's a fucking angry motherfucker if there ever was one. But
at least he gets angry at people who have actually been complete douchebags.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I guess that's why I like him so much. Like he and I politically don't see eye to eye on anything. I mean, that phrase is kind of weird considering I've never spoken to him. But like, you know, I don't. He and I wouldn't agree on things politically, I should say. But like, you know, he and I have like I guess the same sense of ethics. So that's why I just like a lot of his content. But that, and also like I hate weeaboos, but how he shills J-List is fucking funny. But
his weekly YouTube porn tweets.
No, it's not even the weekly thing. Like he just does it at the beginning of every video, and he has a different voice every time, and then like plays like disaster footage. like there was one week.
As he shills something.
There was one week where he was doing like this shitty knockoff Texan accent, shilling J-List and being like, "Get yourself some plastic pussy," and he was like playing footage of like. He was playing like helicopter footage of New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina the entire time, and I was like, "Wow, you know, I was there, but that's fucking funny." But regardless, to move on, it sucks. I mean, yeah, the demonetization thing is totally unfair to everybody involved. It's I'm pretty sure they are right. Everybody who said it before, it's definitely a blacklist. It's not just, you know, some bot. And even if it was some bot, it was probably like, even if it was the candid AI, and we were right about that whole thing, and like Johnny Fox and everybody was right about that. The candid AI, what they probably did because they are dipshits, is they let it learn enough to know the posting patterns, or like it got a database of the people. Like it wasn't nearly advanced as they were talking about. It just got a database of the people that were considered problematic, and then they shut off, and then they turned off its learning apparatus afterward, or took it offline and just made a blacklist out of the people that were like within that problematic list.
So I'm starting to wonder if
I mean,
what the fuck are they doing this for? I'm starting to wonder with the Ross Scott thing. It makes me step back and go, is this really about the politics?
It's probably different facets of Google fighting each other right now. And I'm not saying that like, oh no, there's resistance insurgency inside Google. There's still some good people there. It's like, there probably is, but they're probably not fighting it because there's like 5 of them. And it's like,
so here's what I think might be going on, revised.
Well, let me just make this point. Look, I'm pretty sure what I'm saying by like them fighting each other is like, the main thrust of any internal struggle they're having is not to do with like the competent people versus the incompetent people or like cultists or whatever. It's probably because Google has this problem where it wants to box in all these, like ideologically there's people in charge of its censorship apparatus that want to box in all these people that they don't agree with. That's obvious. But at the same time, another thing we know about Google is they also want a motherfucking botnet. They have been trying to get a botnet forever. They want everything about you. They want all that data. They want all the information all the time, forever. And that's why they've been like pushing and pushing and pushing bullshit like Google Plus for goddamn ever. And like that's why they when they bought YouTube and then made your Google Plus made it so that you had to get a Gmail and Google Plus accounts to link into your YouTube accounts, and then branding accounts, and then you could have multiple accounts of the same thing. And it's like they have functionally fucked themselves. Once again, the main theme of this is SJWs shooting themselves in both feet, because they shot themselves in one foot when they tried to demonetize all the people, like their golden goose, and all the people that are making the money and the people that are bringing people to their site. And on the other foot, they shoot themselves because they also made it like, you know, dirt fucking cheap and impossibly, like, it's not even dirt cheap, it's free. They made it like insanely easy to just make accounts. Make sock puppets, make video accounts, like anything they want on their YouTube service for the express purpose of data mining people, hoping to Christ that they'll start using Google Plus as an actual alternative to Facebook or something. And that's still not working for them. But there's obviously like different factions inside the company fighting over this. At least this is my theory, that like there's people that are like, they want the botnet, but they also want to fucking like box in the people they disagree with. But they can't have both, because one is constantly expanding the other.
The only thing that saves The only thing that saves us from the bureaucracy is the growing bureaucracy.
Yes.
To facilitate the growing bureaucracy. The bureaucracy is growing to accommodate the growing bureaucracy.
But now it's we have like the bureaucracy Ouroboros. It's a paper mache fucking Jormungandr. We've reached peak bureaucracy. Sucking its own ass into infinity.
So I'm starting to wonder if... I remember this was fairly early on, the theory about why PewDiePie was getting attacked. And it was the Wall Street Journal that led the attack on PewDiePie. And they were obsessed with his subscription numbers and the amount of money he was making. So...
I'm pretty sure that's old people. Like,
yeah, well,
I'm pretty sure that's just like the culture shock of a bunch of baby boomers figuring out that they will never be as relevant as he is, and he just farts on camera. Like,
yeah, and they're pissed off about that because they're losing interest. Subscribers are losing interest in them, and they're angry that somebody basically farts on camera.
Like this is
like a couple $1,000.
This would be this is like the equivalent of like, you know, like. I don't know. Anderson Cooper it's like Anderson Cooper on live television finding out that like that fucking Jackass beat all of his ratings every year since it started or something, and like it's just you know, I'm pretty sure the whole thing that happened for that, at least like the emotional impetus for like leading that attack, as opposed to all the pragmatic means, was just it was people. It's just old people that had no idea about it suddenly out of nowhere going, oh my god, we have lost all cultural relevancy to the kids these days to a Swedish motherfucker who screams at Slender Man. Like,
yep. So,
like,
what do we know about
or
Google?
At least it was like a bunch of journalists realizing that they could try to like create that sense of fear in the old people that read their fucking publications. So they were trying to fucking like, you know, create a fear, essentially like, you know, kind of like backdoor a fear campaign. But you were gonna say.
So okay, Wall Street Journal wants to make money. Who else has been commenting they want to make money? Google. Google has been angry that YouTube is not making money. They've made this publicly, and I think
and yet they keep doing things to make it make less money.
Now, here, I'll explain this one. Don't worry, I'll get around to it. Okay, so Wall Street Journal attacks them. So they're looking for ways to make money. They've been talking with like YouTube Red and all this other stuff about getting top-rated content. They've probably been hearing that from these big name companies to put together like really good content, that YouTube is viewed as kind of being this, you know, lolcat, like fail video bullshit.
Once again, old people.
Yeah. And those old people happen to control the purse strings at the advertising companies. And they realized that they have a public image problem. So Wall Street Journal comes along. So they experiment trying to do like YouTube Red and like we can have our cake and eat it too. And it's just not working. And then the entire PewDiePie thing comes along. And this is after, of course, they've been infiltrated by the SJWs totally. And the PewDiePie thing was the right crisis at the right time to exploit. So on the one hand, you've got Google higher up saying, YouTube, you have to make money. And then this happens where you've got a major newspaper, dozens of newspapers attacking your brand. Subscribers are trying to pull it. And the old people who run the company are going, oh shit, we need to fix our public image problem if we want to make advertising money. The SJWs see an opening, never let a crisis go to waste. They step in, and while it's funny, the SJWs create the crisis and they offer the solution to the crisis, which is, hey, we've been, look at all, it's not just PewDiePie, it's all these people. This is what your advertisers are scared of. Let us be more aggressive. Let us off the chain. Let us go nuts. We'll, like a dog, hunt down all these rats.
Yeah.
And that's what we've been dealing with is the higher ups at Google, because they were greedy, got conned into letting the SJWs on YouTube solve a crisis that never really existed to begin with. At the end of the day, Google wants to make money, and the SJWs are the ones holding them back. But consequently, the SJWs are also the ones creating the crisis.
Yep.
A classic SJW.
Well, I mean, it's like all of these fucking like all of this money loss is feeding on itself, because Google adding fuel to the fire for this in like a way that doesn't actually, like in a way that is partisan, I should say, or like this biased, where they're banning accounts and everything, is actually losing the money, because the majority of the money they would be spending is on server maintenance costs and everything, right? When you say,
well, I think they're hoping that by running off
they'll
these
get
guys,
more AdSense revenue. Except like, there's a billion fucking advertisers out there. A sucker's born every minute. Well, like, a fucking ad company is also born every minute, and like, they have the ability to fucking reach all of these people. They are a telecommunications giant of unseen fucking proportions. Yet somehow these motherfuckers are losing all their money on server costs, and dumb business decisions and everything else, because they don't want to look at internal corruption, and primarily they want to fucking like pick a side in a culture war or whatever. And when they could be playing war profiteer, they instead are taking a side and then wondering why they're getting shot. Like the maybe it's like, an issue of upkeep and efficiency, and they can never really catch up. But trying to force all of the people that bring the majority or that bring a huge chunk of traffic to your site out is not going to fucking make you money in the long run, no matter how many ways you slice it. And they're doing that, and then in the process, they're also instigating people to fucking add their own 2 cents and make more goddamn videos that take up more space, and then more people are making sock puppets, and so on and so on. Like, all this shit keeps happening because they keep fucking fueling the fires of... they're not even really fueling the fires of it or stirring the shit so much as they're just, picking... Like, they're picking one side, and then they're trying to force it in... They're trying to, force it, when they could be making all the money that they need to operate everything hand over fist, at least in theory, if they had just stayed out of it and, provided equal services to everybody involved. Like, fuck, in the long term, they would be making a lot more money if they were more even-handed to people in general, regardless of politics. Like, fucking prank channels and reaction channels and, like, fucking Viacom and, like, Warner Music Group have been killing the shit out of like all of the like some of their most highly watched videos for goddamn ever. Like that's all that's all a ton of revenue that even if they take a cut of ads regardless, like it's revenue that they lose. Like they just lose through sheer inefficiency because they keep spreading everything out over like a million more middlemen because they won't just help their content creators. You know what I'm saying?
They're just. I hear what you're saying, and I agree. It's painful watching Google at this point. They've created something, and at this point, it's like they're fucking actively trying to not pay any fucking attention to why they were fucking successful to begin with. Why was Google YouTube so successful? Well, maybe it is those fucking fail videos. Maybe that's why people come to YouTube to begin with.
Yep.
Maybe that's your product. They don't even. Unbelievable. I don't know who the hell's running these departments, but they don't even know what the hell they're selling.
Yeah.
We were talking last episode.
That's the problem. That's the problem with modern corporations everywhere. Is that
we were talking about the iron law of bureaucracy last episode, and this is just a great example of just they've got people.
The aluminum law of corporatism.
They've got people running the show over there that are so fucking incompetent that they don't even know what fucking industry they're in.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
None of them
you
do.
Were in the
none of them do.
And yeah, it's painful. So then they get I think a lot of them over there must think that they're actually in the political industry.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be too surprised.
We also talked about this like a few episodes of the Edgecast where we were talking about how like like a lot of fucking Google's backbone of the infrastructure of the workforce there has been systematically taken over by like Indo-Pakistani nepotism. Because it's just a whole bunch of family members hiring other family members, and all of their qualifications are, my brother's wife, my brother's wife's uncle works here, and he also knows how to like paste C++ and HTML, like copy paste C++ and HTML code off of the internet, and like. It's like because of shit like that, and just it's like it's technician culture it's extreme nepotism and then technician culture taken to the same extreme, just getting blown completely beyond any level of control.
At least like, Equifax.
Yeah, at least it won't be as bad as Equifax, but. I mean, look, everybody already knows about Equifax. We're not going to talk about that because guess what? The rant's here. I could have segued into this way earlier, but I have to say this. As much as my heart goes out to a lot of the YouTubers that have been demonetized that I think produce good content, like Ross, fuck Arch Warhammer. And I will continue to preface this, fuck Arch Warhammer, by saying that, yes, I have been... I haven't really posted it yet because I've been collaborating with my brother, and you know how fucking long shit that takes. But, I will eventually run my own Warhammer lore channel because I love Warhammer, or at least Warhammer 40k. And so this is obviously going to be biased. I fully state this. I'm not trying to shill my own channel. The express purpose I wanted to do the channel was because people like Arch Warhammer and fucking 40 Facts and like, just all of those dicks are fucking retarded. And Arch Warhammer is king retard of fucking shit mountain. Like, just... I don't know.
Vulgarity.
It's not the vulgarity. Fuck the vulgarity. It's the fact that out of a fucking... the malodorous shit pile of 40k lore channels, Arch Warhammer was the dude that made himself stand above the rest, not by producing good content, but by sucking Sargon of Akkad's dick. And Sargon of Akkad shilled him and his stupid fucking, like, sponsor network until his spoiled Norwegian ass was now, like, the most subscribed and watched lore channel in the whole thing. And he is not fucking competent at all. He doesn't, like... He and, like, the rest of the community all have their own different, like, minutia of problems, but he specifically is still, like, just a complete fucking dipshit that doesn't know what he's talking about when it comes to model design, when it comes to the fucking gameplay, when it comes, like, he makes the same mistakes as all the rest of them, where they don't want to fucking admit that the game system, that, like, all this fluff and everything is just there to contextualize, had been thrown overboard fucking 10 years ago. And he doesn't want to admit that, like, the soul of the game and all the stories it's ever created and everything else has been cannibalized out by a bunch of fucking dipshits from London that have no idea, once again, corporatism, that have no idea what they're selling, but hey, they can keep selling it for 20,000% markup or something. So they, they have fucking systematically destroyed their brand. They are, and on some level they realize this, so everybody who's in charge of all the fluff and all the artwork and everything else has been trying to fucking systematically destroy the fan base. Not even destroy the fan base so much as rape it. Just fucking force this fan base into submitting to this, these ideas that, like, every other faction in the game, every other demographic that it ever represented, all the people that fucking put money and time into this shit, unless you play Space Marines, you are subhuman, get out. Like, that's fucking their end game. And he doesn't fucking understand that. Nobody else in the community understands that. And despite the fact that that should be obvious to anybody who'd actually played anything from fucking earlier than 6th edition, he still is ridiculously popular, and fucking because Sargon of Akkad wants to pretend that he knows shit from Shinola about Warhammer, he goes, oh yeah, Arch Warhammer, you're super cool, I'm gonna shill you all the time and have you on my fucking political live streams, and get your fucking uneducated Nord dipshit opinions on Brexit and shit. Oh, by the way, here's a few tens of thousands of subscribers for your fucking channel. Oh no, this is why. Like, oh no, he got demonetized. I'm so sorry. Fuck you. Is there anything I didn't cover there? Do I seem unfair to you, Garam?
I would like to make a rebuttal. One Mind Syndicate.
At least he didn't. At least fucking, hey, SA, I broke into your rhino, didn't fucking, suck Sargon of Akkad's dick to get where they were. They could be wrong.
All they
could be fucking
do
wrong.
is read off of the wiki.
Yes, they are retarded. They even their opinion pieces are fucking shit, but at least they fucking got there on their own. They didn't go up to Sargon and be like, hey, buddy, you mind shilling me?
God, do you got a similar rant about Alphabusa? Brava Alphabusa?
Probably, but this is neither here nor there. This is just because it's relevant and I'm too drunk to not do this. You knew this was coming and you put it on the list anyway, you motherfucker.
I'm terrible.
The one listener that we have for this, if it's not just Suede, I want you, or Tyler, I want you to know, this is Garam's fault. I claim no responsibility for this segue from from our normally insanely mediocre commentary on geopolitics.
Do you know what other popular product from the 1980s is making a comeback?
Hillary Clinton?
No. Elton John. No. God, I hope... No. I hope so. I'm just saying, Robo Hillary Clinton 2020.
You put on here about, alienation is the perfect word. You're right. She is, she just... Alright, that's all we're gonna say about her. Just shut the fuck up. Please. You lost. Stop shilling your book. Stop writing more books. Stop going on TV. Stop paying people to write articles about you. Just shut the fuck up.
Actually, I'm getting entertained by this. It's like Hollywood needs to start taking numbers on who she's or what she's gonna blame next.
Dude, it's a train wreck. It's a train that wrecked into another train, and then the fucking cars tumbled off a mountain into Chernobyl. Like, this is awful. It's so depressing. It's depressing despite the fact that I hate, like, every fiber of the being of that woman. And it's just, like, dude, you and I, let's be straight here. You and I are a bunch of, we're a pair of fucking drunk dorks whining about fucking geopolitics and sociopolitics and YouTube drama on the internet. And yet, the two of us...
Isn't that like half the internet?
Maybe. But the two of us are still less pathetic than Hillary Clinton at this point.
Yeah, she's really taken the prize.
It's
I
fucking
remember,
depressing.
I think it was the New York Times had a big article, front page, and it was the Trump army. What happens when Trump loses? And they were predicting like fucking civil war.
Oh my
if Trump
God.
lost. And I'm like,
just fuck off.
I think what they need to do is a revised cover where what happens when Trump won, and it's just Hillary Clinton all standing there by herself, just holding like a pitchfork and a
this
and
is
a
what we
torch.
need to do. We need to have like fucking move. We need to like revitalize the economy enough that heavy industry moves back to the U.S. and then through tax incentives make all of their fucking like make it the best idea for them to start setting up all their factories in the South. And then we'll have a second civil war, and it'll be a glorious revolution style one where we're just like, no, the North, you have your shit. All the conservatives are going to move south. You guys can have your cities and your factories. All the factory workers are going to move here, though. You know why? Because you don't give a fuck about them. If another civil war situation happened like that again in the U.S., like, could you imagine?
The conservatives would kick. The conservatives would kick fucking ass.
Well, they don't even need to kick ass. That's the thing. They don't even need to kick ass. If there was just a secession and just a few states seceded, and it was like here's the problem that happened with like the Civil War. Like we can hem and haw all day about slavery and like the rights of man or whatever the fuck. Like that's not here nor there. The problem is that the main reason why the South lost was because all of its infrastructure and industry relied on slavery, and like the North had all the factories. But it's gotten to the point where the left, if we just gave the left their own country and just said, all right, here, have half the country, have all the major cities you want, all the conservatives are just going to leave like you want. Don't genocide them. If you really believe in peace and love, just let them leave. Go fucking live in Texas and Mississippi or wherever. We're just going to build factories over here because there's economic incentives.
We'll just, the conservatives just go off and they build their own.
The fucking liberal states, this hypothetical liberal country would totally collapse because they would not be able to support any of the blue collar workers because they're fucking retards. They're just all parasites and morons with art degrees.
Ow.
Did you shoot yourself?
No, that was...
Oh, fuck. All right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, dropping weight. Sorry, I just dropped something on my table. Okay, it's not
really
dented. Yeah, I'm fine.
Another drink. This is...
Yeah, no. Oh, jeez. I'm so... That scared the living shit out of me. No, my table is not dented. Anyways, how fast do you think Texas could beat up on California?
It depends on how fast. It depends on how fast they recover from Hurricane from Hurricane Harvey, and how fast. Just because like the majority of the left in Texas is centered in Houston, and if there's an if they can recover from when I say that, I mean like. If they can recover fast from it, then it'll totally depend on how fast like all the leftists in Houston and Austin can like mount an insurrection. Because like Texas, all right. Then again, Texas would probably like just wreck shit, because the majority of the areas that Texas would be fighting any Californians in, and assuming they were the aggressors or they were attacking or whatever and not on the offensive, are similar of terrain, and also like Texas provides the U.S. military like 20% of all of its recruits or something.
Texas is pretty fucking huge.
Yeah, but also like 20%. 1 in 5 Marines and 1 in 5 soldiers is from Texas. You're gonna get shot.
Okay, liberals don't know how to use guns. Oh,
they're gonna get shot. That's what I'm saying.
Oh God, I'm starting to love conservatives in the U.S. these days. Oh my God, the NFL has been great.
I don't care about the NFL. Look,
Do you care about Elton John?
Oh. Well, I already... Well, one of the prefaces for one of my rants earlier in this was me being like, well, I'm a tremendous faggot, so yes, I obviously give a shit about Elton John.
I'm sure you're just loving how Elton John's back in the news and everyone wants to buy his latest single, Rocket Man.
Just... linguistic kill shots.
That's out in North Korea.
Linguistics kill shots. That's all I'll say.
Oh.
That and fucking.
Wait, so do you hear about this one? So China's now trying to pull out of North Korea.
Yeah.
China's now starting to hedge their backs. Like they've
you motherfucker! Did you seriously write China pulling out of North Korea like a drunken freshman at the end of a one-night stand?
Yes, I did.
So what? They're just slipping and sliding and fucking vomiting in the process. Like,
listen, it was a drunken one-night stand.
College freshman or high school freshman? Define, like, specify, motherfucker.
I don't know, but they're just not really used to sex. They're just all sorts of awkward. I mean, it was uncomfortable for both sides, but it's time for him. I'm
sure, like our one listener gets the feeling, considering that we're talking about sex on this fucking this shit show.
Yeah, well, anyways,
look, man,
it looks like China's starting to hedge.
You brought up Elton John. You're sitting in a love seat in the middle of a Slavic country. Do you really want to go here?
Well, at least you didn't send me live action furry porn like frickin' Tyler Durden did.
Here, Tyler, I will always love you. You of all the Germans I've ever known, you are simultaneously the most German and the least douchey. I am proud to call you Kameraden.
It was gay GIF porn too.
Yeah. I don't give a shit what he's into. I'm just glad he sent it to you. You deserve it.
Oh, just for that, I'm fucking sending it to you now.
I already blocked you.
Oh. So anyways, China's now trying to shut down North Korean business relationships, and considering North Korea's state is one of the thing that's really been holding back a lot of the sanctions with North Korea has been the Chinese and their business relationships with the North Koreans.
Yep.
That China's been able to walk the line with officially agreeing to the sanctions, but then through the back door of all the so-called private industries, totally not aligned with the Communist Party at all, cough, 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 be able to at least prop the North Koreans up.
Yep.
So the situation now looks like China's maybe hedging its bets for the eventual downfall of North Korea. But I just... that had to be one of the most entertaining UN speeches in a while. Going out there and just insulting another world leader like that does not happen every day. But fuck it, it would be great to be a fly on a wall in some of these UN meetings. They're hurling insults 100 times worse behind those closed doors.
I mean, 100 times worse for old people.
Yes, for old people. Was about to go. So I was wanting to lead into something about this one, and I think this might be one of the legacies of Trump, and actually maybe the reason why the left hates him and is truly scared of Trump. I think I might have figured it out. Tell me if I'm going crazy on this theory. So I was listening today to one of the EEI live streams, and they were talking about the filibuster in U.S. Congress. And one of them had an interesting insight, and that the problem with the filibuster isn't the filibuster. The problem with the filibuster is that nobody in Congress has the balls to get into a conflict with somebody else. We as a society have gone to the point where the concept of conflict in and of itself, a disagreement, is completely unacceptable and avoided at all cost. And that's the reason why everyone hates the filibuster. Everyone's constantly in politics asking for bipartisanship and why can't we get along? And this filibuster thing, it's just causing conflict. And he's going, the problem isn't the filibuster. The problem is that everyone in Congress is avoiding conflict because nobody knows how the fuck to deal with conflict. Look at how Obama dealt with conflict. He dealt with conflict by simply issuing a bunch of executive orders, circumventing the people he's having a conflict with. He just went over their heads without resolving the conflict. Look at the Republicans. They can't even handle conflict within their own fucking party. They can't. For 7 years, they've been going on and on and on about repealing Obamacare. Hey, they finally get all the power in the world they need. There's literally nothing to stop them to repeal Obamacare. They can't even handle the conflict within their own party to repeal Obamacare. Nobody in the U.S. political system actually knows how to fuck to deal with conflict, except for, Trump. Well, that's odd. Think about what he's doing. He's wheeling and dealing. He's negotiating. He's playing business. But that's exactly how you deal with conflict politically. A huge feature of the U.S. government system is to prevent a tyranny of the majority. And they accomplished that by saying that if you wanted to get something passed, you wouldn't just need to get like 51% of the population on your side. You're going to need to get more like 60 or 70% of the population on your side. So politics was made difficult. You had to wheel and deal, or you had to run a very slick campaign and get a huge majority of the population on your side. But as the guy suggested, I completely agree. The attitude taken towards politics now by the establishment is they want to win. They don't care how much support they have, and they want to win forever. And no, they don't want to wheel and deal. They don't want to negotiate. They're right. You're wrong. Fucking live with it. That's not how the U.S. system is set up. Not how the U.S. system is set up at all.
It could be argued
in fact,
that
in most countries,
it could be argued that the U.S. system was never set up, even in the way you said. But like the way it operates now is that, and they still don't want to fucking just deal with it.
So you had a system where right now, considering that it seems like the country is split 50-50, you only have one option if you want to get policy passed: negotiate. Now, that raises an issue for the Democrats, because while Trump wants to negotiate, the Democrats don't want to negotiate. They want to go the first way, which is get a massive number of people on their side, which means this incredibly heavy-handed approach to politics. It means constantly going around and doing what the SJWs are doing, which is naming and using shame as a tactic to try and cow people into just going along with whatever the hell they want. Trump is not going to be shamed by anything. None of their tactics. Everyone else was trying to play nice, and I don't think they appreciate this. Trump is not playing nice. Trump does not give a shit about playing nice. Trump does not care what you think about Trump. Trump cares what Trump thinks about Trump. And so long as he can go to those rallies where, he's got 1,000 people in the audience cheering for him, he's not going to give a shit what somebody in California thinks about him. And
it's just ironic considering how you just outlined that, like, most of these people they just want power and power and power and nothing else. They don't care about approval. They don't care about anybody else. But at the end of the day, like, they have lived in that system so long where they can just get what they want by smarming their way through everything and shysting their way through everything, that they have lost the ability, they have lost the social skills required to actually convince people over to your side, or at least maintain a real demeanor. It's just at the end of the day.
So you look at the media, and they're just their relentless attack on everything that everyone likes, and forcing everyone to kowtow to social justice, or being attacked ruthlessly by the media. They use shame as a tactic to enforce conformity. And you were earlier commenting about how the classic conservatives sold their soul to the neoconservatives. Why did they sell their soul to the neoconservatives? Because it was the only way they could cut a deal to get anything passed, is to work with the Democrats. And I think that's a huge, as I've commented before, the neoliberals and the neoconservatives have the same ideology. So they basically, made a deal with the devil, which is giving up on two-party politics.
They're basically trying to like, I wouldn't say anyone has outright said that or even thought about it that deeply, but at the end, like, you have to wonder, it's like, did anyone at this point ever sit down and realize that, like, their attempt to have their cake and eat it too is by basically going, we don't compromise. Like, it's not compromising on anything if you've compromised everything to the point where you have nothing left. Like they, what we're watching is cheaters being called out as cheaters, and then actually having the rules enforced upon them, as opposed to them being able to just like slide their way out of the allegations or an actual punishment.
Or their tactics of cheating are just people knew they were cheating. People went along with the fact that they were cheating because it wasn't really that bad. But now they're just pissed off.
Or they didn't think it was that bad.
Yeah, and now that it is that bad, they're pissed off because between Star Trek and the NFL, how many fans do you think these guys are making? Their entire tactic is to alienate people. Look at Hillary Clinton. During the entire election, she's alienated people, and now she continues to alienate people. The entire movement is based on shame, and shame doesn't work in elections because, so long as you're not given an alternative, shame doesn't work. If you're given an alternative and you think it's a viable alternative, like Trump, it's great, the U.S. election system, because you're in a booth. No one sees what you jot down on that piece of paper, which button you press, which lever you pull. It doesn't matter. Nobody sees what you vote for. There is no shame. So long as you can get over the mental hurdle of getting over the shame, you realize something very fundamental about the Democrats and this sort of liberal SJW crap that's being pulled. They don't have any conflict resolution skills. That's why they're using shame, because they don't know how to resolve their disagreement with you. The second you get over that, you realize they have...
It's just, once again, ironic considering that, like, all of their social policies are essentially trying to, deracinate the ability of other established entities to use shame tactics on, their favorite pets as part of their identity politics. They use shame. They use nothing but shaming tactics because they want to be. They've taken the power, but before they were the de facto power structure, they were the ones that tried to they did everything they could to take away the ability of churches from shaming gay people or men from shaming women or anything else. It's just they're hypocrites that won a war of attrition on accident. And now are trying to they won a war of attrition on accident and are now trying to use the tactics of the enemy they beat against a new enemy, and they don't understand how they even won in the first place. So I
would actually contradict that and say that they've run out of enemies. They have no enemies left, and they're just turning on everyone. Well, it's the Nietzsche quote, be careful that when you're fighting not monsters, not to become monsters. When you stare into the void stares back. Right. They've been fighting monsters for so long, they've defeated all the monsters, there's no monsters left to fight.
So they've become the monsters. Well, I mean,
they become the monsters because they're still fighting, but there's nothing left to fight.
That's always what happens. I mean, I was more referencing Sun Tzu, where it's just, if you know yourself, it's like, if you know the enemy and you know yourself, you fear not the result of 100 battles. It's just they don't know them. They don't know the enemy, and they don't know themselves. They never knew themselves.
Well, yeah, you're right. They run a war of attrition by accident. That their entire philosophy is born out of being fighting the conservatives, and their strategy plays well when you're the minor power. But now that they're trying to use the shaming tactics when they're the major power, and they've taken away everyone else's places to go. Like, hey, don't you turn on the? Imagine if you turn on the news. Just imagine you've come home from a long day of work. You worked hard, but something went wrong. It wasn't really your fault. Your boss called you into his office, and he gave you a nice chewing out. And it's 6 o'clock. A couple people cut you off in traffic. You get home, and you've done your family stuff, and it's 8 o'clock now. Time to relax. You sit down, you turn on the news, and all you hear is somebody from California or New York going on about, how people from Middle America, which where you're presumably living, are just inherently evil because
how people from where you're from are inherently evil. How people who do your job are plebeians, and then you turn off the news and you go to the movie theater and all the characters.
You change the channel and it's Star Trek. It's like, oh yeah, I remember watching Star Trek. I love The Next Generation, and it's Star Trek Discovery, and it's like fuck white people, and you're like, oh fucking hell, sports, and they're never gonna fucking touch.
Just the bullshit.
Then it's a bunch of athletes kneeling, going, "We fucking hate America," despite America collectively paying us millions of dollars to play the game we love. And you're just like, "There's no you've taken away everyone's safe spaces, and you don't expect."
They weren't even safe spaces to begin with. But I mean, like, it's not that they took away safe spaces. It's not even that. It's that they don't take away anything. Or rather, they don't outright take away anything. They always corrupt it. They corrupt it from the inside. They make it into the very antithesis of what it was, and then like leech all of the money and the support and the funding out and let it die. And then when it's dead, you and all the other people who were ever fans of it go on to do something else. You go on to find something else. You go on, like, you or even make your own thing. I mean, V has talked about this. TG has talked about this. They have an old there's an old, like, shitty Microsoft Paint comic that covers it. That's like, the destruction of a it's like the stages of the destruction of a fan base / hobby, and it's the same thing every time. It's just the subversive tactics that SJWs and their ilk used, they used in entertainment spheres. They're just, or they used in political spheres. They're expanding to entertainment spheres because they're just so arrogant, or they're just so stupid that
they've just got so little else to do with their lives.
Yeah, that they have to go destroy, like, the only thing. It's just.
It's slave morality. There's a reason why Ayn Rand called them parasites, because they're incapable of making anything themselves. They have to consume that which already exists.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a whole other can of worms when you consider Ayn Rand wasn't able to create anything herself either.
No, she wrote books.
Maybe, but so did Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, well, okay, Hillary Clinton, I'm pretty sure, had a fucking ghostwriter write that book for her.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I just sat down and wrote a book. No, you fucking didn't. You basically just sat in a room, and I can just imagine being the ghostwriter for that. Sitting in a room, listening to Hillary Clinton all day long rant and rave about everything that went wrong, and your job is to sit down and try and turn it into a coherent work. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be too surprised if it was a ghostwriter who put it together.
I mean, and most politicians are, but at the end of the day, Well, there is no end of the day. I'm pretty sure that is our exercise in madness for you.
Trying to understand the mind of Hillary Clinton.
No, just the idea of imagining a dude alone in a room with Hillary Clinton on like the therapist's like fainting couch, being like, "This is why I lost the election," and like sitting there fucking actually typing this shit down.
Thinking to himself, no, or herself, or whatever, no, this is why you lost the election, lady.
I mean, I don't care what that guy thinks. All I know is that sounds like a version of hell I'm not comfortable with talking about.
Ugh.